You've hit your big goal, $100,000, a six-figure net worth. Now, take that money, rent a yacht, and throw the party of a lifetime. Just kidding. We're going to show you how to take that first $100,000 and turn yourself into a millionaire. If you do have at least six figures of net worth, consider hiring a financial advisor. These are experts in personal money management who can help you avoid tax and investment pitfalls while maximizing your net worth over time. Before you even pick up the phone to call them, though, you should take a moment to review your current situation, as well as your goals for the future. Make sure you know the following numbers of your situation, besides just your total net worth, as you begin to plan your next steps towards your $1 million goal. First, what is your investment time horizon? This means how much time are you willing to let your money sit around before it gets to $1 million? If you're alright with money percolating for 40 years, you have more options than if you want your million in 20 years. Consider how long you can wait for your money to grow. The benefit of a longer time horizon is that you can take on less risk because you're willing to grow slower but over a longer period. But the downside is, of course, now you have to wait. Keep your time horizon in mind as you plan out your next steps. You also need to know your debt to income ratio. You need to know that whatever you owe, whoever you owe it to, you are bringing in enough money to cover it, regardless of what you do with your 100K. We recommend that if you do have outstanding debt, pay it off first, even a big item like a mortgage. Not having those monthly payments will be worth it, as you can then take that amount that you would have paid toward the mortgage and instead invest it. Also consider your total income and earning potential. Your total income will help you know how much you'll be able to add to your investments over time, besides your initial $100,000. The more you can add in regularly, the faster your 100K will grow to 1 million. If you know you're likely to earn even more over time, from raises, promotions, or other career changes, you can incorporate that too. Similarly, consider what happens if there is a market downturn and you lose your job, or where your income is likely to have a ceiling. Before investing, make sure you have at least 3 months of emergency expenses saved. Some experts advise even as much as 6 months. If you haven't done that yet, use your $100,000 to put 6 months of emergency cash in a high-yield savings account where you can get to it quickly. Also consider future big purchases into your plan. Are you going to take your dream vacation, buy a home, pay for your child's college education? Consider these large expenses as you put together your plan to go from 100K to 1 million. Obviously, these are valuable expenditures, but they will slow you down on your way to 7 figures. Make sure you know how spending that money will impact your taxes and your investment growth. Now that you have a full picture of your financial situation, it's time to craft your investment plan. First, you need to know 2 things: your risk tolerance and your risk capacity. Your risk tolerance is how much you're willing to lose. Your risk capacity is the amount of risk you need to reach your goals. Somewhere between the two is your perfect investment strategy. As we mentioned before, maybe you have a really long time horizon and you hate risk. In that case, you can do a really safe investment option that grows slowly but surely over time, like a CD or high-yield savings account. But this is obviously not going to get you 1 million anytime soon. In fact, even if you get a really top-notch CD, one with a market-leading return, for example, one that compounds daily at 5%, it will still take 46 years to turn your 100K into 1 million. Of course, if you deposit regularly into your CD account, it will go faster, but this will give you an idea of how long you'll have to wait for your 6 figures to grow into 7 with a CD or high-yield savings account. You could wait half a century. So, consider how much risk you're willing to tolerate and how much risk you need to reach your goals in your time horizon. Whatever risks you do take on, remember that you need to balance it out with more stable investments. Don't put your whole 100K on any one thing, even if it has a really incredible return. If you do, you're basically asking to lose it all. Many people determine their risk tolerance by having a stock-bonds balance. For example, you might put 80% into stocks and 20% into something more secure, CDs. This way, you know you'll lose at most $80,000 of your net worth, whilst you keep at least $20,000 and the return on your CDs. Before you jump into making any investment purchase, make sure you understand and estimate all of the associated fees and taxes. Here are some examples. If you're buying and selling individual stock, there will be trading fees. If you're buying into mutual funds and ETFs or an exchange-traded fund, you will have an expense ratio, which means how much of your investment in the fund will be deducted annually as fees. If you use a financial or investment advisor, they will charge you asset management fees. Before you sign on to or purchase anything, read the fine print to understand the fees. You also need to understand your tax liability for your investments. If you're investing in a retirement account, if it's a 401k or traditional IRA, then you won't pay taxes until you make withdrawals in retirement. This isn't true of all retirement accounts, however. If you set up a Roth IRA, you will pay taxes up front so that you can make tax-free distributions in retirement. Not sure which is right for you? This is a good question for your financial advisor. Whichever kind of retirement account you pick, it is smart to invest in your future first, before starting any other investment accounts. Make sure you have at least begun saving and growing your retirement nest egg with your 100k before you do anything else. If you have a taxable investment account, which is basically everything besides a 401k or traditional IRA, you will pay a short-term or long-term capital gains tax if your stock goes up. What's the difference between these two? If you hold an investment for longer than a year, you will pay the long-term capital gains tax, which is generally a smaller percentage. This encourages investors to hold on to investments longer rather than selling all the time. There are strategies to offset these losses, so it can be a good idea to talk with your tax advisor about your investment strategy. A tax advisor will know how to minimize your tax loss while growing your net worth. Now that you know how to keep your eye out for fees and taxes on investments, where should you start investing your 100k? Abiding by your risk tolerance, distribute a percentage of your portfolio among higher risk, higher reward investments like stocks, mutual funds, and ETFs. Bonds are a great middle-of-the-road option between stocks and CDs. Bonds don't have as good a return as the stock market generally, but they beat CDs. Bonds also have low to medium risk. It is possible that a bond issuer may default on the bond, but it is less likely that they will do that than the relatively high likelihood a stock will drop. Bonds issued by the US government are usually less risky than bonds issued by a company. A company may go bankrupt, but if the US government collapses, you'll have bigger problems than getting your bond return back. If you really want your portfolio to grow, you'll want to incorporate stocks. If you're fine with someone else taking the wheel, consider a mutual fund, ETF, or a robo-advisor who will make the investments for you. All of these options return rates of growth that are close to the market average and can sometimes outperform the market. But if you want to be a more active investor, you will likely want to select some stocks for yourself. If you do, don't just pick the stocks with recognizable names and big costs per share. Select a wide variety of stocks with different benefits. For instance, select some stocks with a good dividend return and plan to hold on to those stocks for a long time. By diversifying your stock selection, you will balance out risk and increase the likelihood of more growth over time. Even if you do take an active investor role in your portfolio, investing in mutual funds or ETFs is still a good idea. These funds will usually perform as well as the market, so if you make some unfortunate choices in stock, the earnings on a mutual fund or ETF should balance you out a bit. If you are eager to see your 100,000 grow quickly, consider investing in real estate. Avoid buy-sell style flipping of residential properties. The market is on top of a huge bubble right now, and it's due to burst at any time. You don't want to be balanced on the bubble when it pops. Instead of investing in individual properties, consider an REIT, or real estate investment trust, particularly one that invests in commercial properties. A commercial REIT gathers rent and makes a continual income, instead of relying solely on the outcome of sales to make a profit. You could also become a landlord yourself. This can be very profitable, but it requires a lot of work and legal liability. It could easily turn into enough responsibility for a full-time job, so consider that option with great care. REITs can be more convenient because they have good annual returns, pay out dividends on their profits, but don't require dealing with tenants or contracts. The companies owned by the trust handle all that for you. So, what should you do with your first $100,000 to turn it into $1 million? Pay off your debts, fund your emergency account, start your retirement account, and then dive into the world of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, CDs, and REITs as your risk tolerance and risk capacity require. Why do we think flipping houses is a bad investment? Because we're headed for the worst residential market downturn in almost a century. The signs all say it's going to be even worse than 2008. Watch this video to find out.